Okay, I learned a very valuable lesson involving recording because I was just creating a 30-40 minute tutorial in 3ds Max, and I realized once I was finished that the recording software was only capturing area. Well, the recording software was capturing only the area within the viewport and not the entire workspace. So that was a bloody failure. I'm recording in full size. So okay, what tools do we need? We need Adobe Photoshop and 3ds Max, of course. A user of cattutor.net was having mapping issues because he was trying to apply a material to the outside of a slot machine he was working on. He provided me with the slot machine file and the the material he wants to apply to it. I'm not sure if this is the yes, this is the problem. Anyways, he provided me with the 3ds Max file and the material that he wants to apply to the 3ds Max files. I am missing some assets, but those assets are not needed. What I'm gonna cover is how to apply the texture correctly. And the first thing I noticed about his file was that the objects were improperly aligned. I usually do not use edit mesh. For me it's only edit poly, whatever floats your boat. I also know that I need another microphone, and I'm gonna center the pivot point, reset this plane's rotation, rotate it to 90 degrees, hide this, we don't need it for now. We got our circle. Let's get down right to business. We do not have any time to waste. Let's add a Unwrap UVW. And bloody hell, before I even do that, I'm gonna convert this to an editable poly. Time's being wasted. Okay, so now we're in our Unwrap thing. How did I get into this sub-object level? Continuing, open the UV editor. We're working with polygons. Zoom out. Where the hell? Oh, this must be a joke. This got to be a bloody joke. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, I think we're good now. Yes, we are. We're switching to polygons. What do we see here? Let's go to mapping, options, preferences. Let's set this to 1024 by 1024. Tiles one time. So what does this do? Okay. Now, what do we know about 3ds Max and this UV editor? It only lets you scale perfectly as in a 1-to-1 ratio, so nothing funny happens. What do we know about our segments? They are out of bloody order. They're not out of order. So okay, let's select our side segments, scale them down. Because I want all the objects to be visible. And well, this is off. Let's change this and go to flatten mapping. This will simplify our process. Let's highlight these, and now we see that these are the objects. These are the polygons that this applies to. What goes next? Okay, so let's put these in order. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's go into the edges. Select this edge and stitch to target. And stitch to target. Bloody failure. Okay, let's align these as good as we can. Now let's go into our edges again. And stitch to target. We're gonna scale all the pieces together, because if we scale them separately, weird bad things happen. So let's repeat the process again. Get them as close to each other as possible. Go into the edges. Control to select multiple, and we're gonna stitch to target. Okay, so now our strand of polygons is perfectly aligned around. And we're looking good. I wish I had aligned these straighter to where I can create a line and go right through all of them. But this is adequate. Now I'm gonna select these, go into the polygon, scale them up to take as much space as possible. And that is it. We're gonna go to our tools and render our UVW template. Let's go into a 2048 by 2048 for quality. We're gonna render, well, let me explain this real quick. This show overlap shows where anything overlaps over here anyways. Our seam edges will control this, and you can change this to any color you like, but not black because the background will be black. So let's just leave it at green, and this will be the color of the edges. Render our UVW template, save it as final, anything you want, and JPEG. This back here is one I already made. The reason I made it earlier was so that I can see the best way of creating this tutorial for time, efficiency, work, etc. Drag our final into Photoshop or our image editing program, and we have our spinner texture provided by our user. Alt plus the scroll wheel to zoom in, and just make sure that your texture covers the green. Simple enough. And for the sides, we're gonna use this metal I found, Creative Commons 3.0. This in no way will be made for profit. Well, at least my version of this. And you see how I overlapped them? It does not matter because the only thing affected will be this area inside the green. File, save, final JPEG. You can save it as any image format because 3ds Max has our UVW coordinates. And before you proceed with any more modeling, save your UVs. This is my segment space. I made a folder to hold all my assets for the slot machine, material mapping. And this is important because in case you go wrong with your model to where you lose your mapping coordinates, you always have them here in this save UVs file. So we don't need that anymore. And where is our, here it is. Now ain't she beautiful? Ha. Rotate it as you wish. Now, here is where it gets complicated. What are we gonna use trigonometry to see at what distance the circle will be perfectly aligned to show the 7 and nothing else. And well, since we have 5 segments, 5 different sections in the map file that was provided to us, I can divide 360 by 5 and get 72. And I can configure this easily so that 3ds Max will rotate by 72 degrees. So, woohoo, dang it. Auto key, set key, 100, set key, rotate, thing, 360, play. So, I hope you got everything you need to understand the Unwrap UVW. Let's just go over some quick details. If ever you see that, let's say this side of the circle is just one line, use the quick peel and it will usually flatten it out. So let's say you were looking at the top of this and you wanted to see the entire circle, just quickly use the quick peel and your problem will be solved, and instead of just seeing one segment, one line segment, it will be a circle. And that's about it. In this case, and in this case only, I had to use the stitch to target because it was separated into 5 segments. And before I finish and leave, I'm going to go over the UVW map. I covered the Unwrap UVW. Any questions, leave a comment. Or let's just hide this selection. And I'm gonna create basic primitive objects. So I'm gonna create a box, sphere, cylinder, and I got a plane. I'm gonna reset my degree snaps back to 5. And the UVW map is the simplest modifier you can use to adjust your material to your object. If you have Autodesk materials, which can be downloaded off the Autodesk site, they will already be configured and be simple enough to where all you do is apply them, and they're already set up. If ever, you might need to use the real world map size with Autodesk materials. If you don't have Autodesk materials and are using your own materials, the real world map size may not be for you. So what can we do? Well, we can apply a UVW map and solve our issues rather quickly. Bloody hell, what's going on? I'm assuming you're not just gonna drag and drop. And if we zoom in, we can see what was happening. Oh, wow, wrong object. Okay, that was embarrassing. So let's apply our UVW map to our box. And this mapping will specify how the object is. Let's say if it's a cylindrical, spherical, or planar object. If it's a planar object, it will apply it only to one side, and the other side will have no scale whatsoever. So only one side will look good and the other sides will not at all. This is a box, so we'll set it to box. Now all sides are perfect. We're gonna disable real world map size because our material has no specified parameters to tell it what size it is in the real world. And now we can adjust this, and because I don't have a seamless texture, you see these dark areas. So that's the basic box. Let's go on to our sphere. Again, by default, it is ugly. We don't need the real world map size. And see what happens at the top. We're gonna apply a UVW map, set it to spherical. And well, bloody hell, the thing still happens. We can adjust our sizes. If I was facing this issue, well, the reason this happens is because, well, I'm guessing this is polar coordinates. That's how whatever the hell you call the polar map looks like. I don't know the specific term, but that is what happens on the top. A box modifier, believe it or not, works well in many cases with many objects. Doesn't really go well with a cylinder, but then again, sometimes it does. But not in this case, which is why, well, hold on. Let's drag and drop this and set it to cylindrical. See, that's a bloody failure. Who wants that? We can use the box mapping and it will look adequate. Or we can apply an Unwrap UVW and do the same process we did earlier. If we go into the plane you can see what this fit tool does, and what it does is basically fits the bitmap to the object. See the orange lines, they adjusted to the outside edges, and it will align itself to any axis you choose, Y and Z. There you go. That's basically all you need to know about the UVW map, planar, cylindrical, spherical, shrink wrap. Whatever you think is adequate for your specific object, you use it. See, just gotta play around sometimes. And if all else fails, unwrap UVW. Hope you learned something out of this and will be able to use it towards your future modeling issues with materials. And there we go. I can watch this all day, but I got school tomorrow.